Hey everybody. Do you identify as LGBT and you're on a healing path, and this year you've decided to really take your own self-love up to the next level? Or maybe you've really been struggling with self-hatred and fear and doubt and all sorts of negative feelings. Well, if so, today's show is for you because we're going to be talking all about the healing power of self-love. I'm so excited. Hi, everybody. My name's Jamie Smith. I'm a certified LGBT life coach and a certified law of attraction facilitator. And you're watching the Hangout with Jamie show. Today is episode 5 of my Spotlight series of interviews, where I shine the spotlight on one individual who is making a difference in the LGBT community and the world. And today my guest is spiritual life coach Jerome Braggs. And before I bring him on, I just want to give a quick shout out to all of my first-time viewers, and also to any of you who are watching from inside my my Google Plus community. For those of you who don't know, I have the Happy, Healthy, and Gay Live Your Best LGBTQ Life. It's a law of attraction G+ community. People are joining from around the world, where I share lots of different life coaching tips and tools for you to go out and really create rich, full, and delicious lives. And that is the purpose of this show, is to inspire, uplift, and empower the LGBT community so you can go out and really create your best life. So as I mentioned, my guest today is Jerome Braggs, and I'm just going to read his bio here. It's on my phone. Jerome is a spiritual life coach. He's an inspirational keynote speaker, teacher, author, singer, and mystic intuitive. In 2004, Jerome's entire life transformed after a team of doctors diagnosed him with AIDS and kidney failure, and then gave him 7 days to live. On his deathbed, Jerome received a message from the divine, revealing the secret to living a thriving, delicious life: to learn how to love yourself fully and let the soul take the lead in all your affairs. Determined to survive, Jerome embarked on a deep spiritual journey to fully embody these principles, which resulted in the miraculous healing of his body and the creation of a thriving, delicious, and soulful life. Today, as a result of his journey, Jerome shares his story around the world, teaching individuals and soulpreneurs the miraculous power of self-love and trusting in the soul. Whether he's speaking on stage, leading a workshop, or working privately with clients, Jerome reminds us all that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and that it's supposed to be deeply delicious. I'm so excited. Jerome, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're from.
Thank you, Jamie. As you mentioned today, I'm a spiritual life coach and mystic intuitive and teacher, and I am in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma.
Awesome. Well, welcome to the show. So that's quite the story. I mean, I got goosebumps just reading it. I know that you're in the process of writing a book, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Would you mind telling us a little bit about that journey?
Yeah. So in 2004, I was living in Washington, D.C., and I had been having flu-like symptoms for about 2 weeks. I was working as a counselor and case manager for men with HIV and AIDS at the time, and had been having flu-like symptoms. And I thought, I couldn't go to work. I was kind of, lagging behind. It was a little weak. And I called my mom to call me in something, because she's a physician and she lives in Oklahoma. And I called her to call me in something so I could get back to work. Like, give me some antibiotics, give me something. And she said, well, I can't really call you in anything. Why don't you go to the emergency room so you can get some medicine really quickly and come back home? And got to the hospital, and instead of getting medicine really quickly, ended up being diagnosed with kidney failure, pancreatitis, pneumonia, anemia, 20 pounds of fluid on my body, a fluid-packed lung, a parasite in my stomach, and if that wasn't juicy enough, AIDS. And the doctors told me that whole situation had progressed to a point where they didn't think they were going to be able to help me much further. And they thought I had about 7 days to live and that I should get my affairs in order. And on my deathbed that time, I kind of had the end of your life questions, where your life kind of rolls in front of you, goes before your eyes, and you ask yourself some really deep questions. Was I happy with the life that I had lived? Was I getting ready to leave with some things in my heart that weren't expressed to the people that I care about? Was did I really fulfill my dreams? Did I deposit into the world what I came here to do? And was I really ready to go? And as I began to cycle myself through those questions, I realized the answer to all those questions was no. I wasn't happy with myself. I hadn't really even been myself in my life. I had lived it based upon what somebody else thought I should be doing. And I wasn't ready to go. I wanted to write a book. I thought that I still wanted to taste my mother's spaghetti one more time, and I wanted to see the world, and I wasn't ready to go. And so, although at that time I was 24 at the time, and I had believed that I was a spiritual being and having a human experience at that time, and that I wasn't scared of death, but I was horrified of dying not having lived.
Right.
And that's what I was getting ready to do. And so I made a decision then that I wasn't going to die. And I was a student of the law of attraction at that time.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, I believe that we create our realities. I believe that in the power of thought. And I had been using all of that before, Jamie, to get $5 to eat when I didn't have any money, or to get a date on Saturday night when I was lonely, or a parking space in front of the mall when I was running late for the movies. But if it was really real, if you really could create your reality, I was going to have to do it. It was going to have to be real for me right here, and it was going to have to be real enough to create a miracle.
Mm-hmm.
And so I threw everything anybody ever said in any book, any seminar, any workshop at that time about how to create your life. And so I did the visualizations, I did the affirmations, I did all of it. And it worked I was in the hospital for a month, and 2 months after I got out of the hospital, I was fully recovered. There was no HIV or AIDS anywhere in my system anymore. My kidneys were fully functioning, and I was back to wellness, and my life was really juicy, and I thought, hey, nothing's impossible. I got it all. I have it. You can create anything. Until I found myself back in that same hospital a year and a half later with the exact same diagnosis to the T. And this time, instead of 7 days, I had 48 hours to live. And on my deathbed this time, I asked myself a different question, because I knew that if I was back in this hospital with the exact same diagnosis, the exact same prognosis, less than hours to live, that my body was sending me a message from my soul that I was trying very hard not to hear. And that there was something I didn't understand about the law of attraction, that I didn't understand about how to thrive and not just survive. So I asked myself I asked a larger question. I asked it to Source, to God, to whatever you want to call it. And I said, what is this? What is it you've been trying to get me to understand that I've been trying very hard not to learn? And how do I, once and for all, thrive and not just survive? And that's when I had kind of the near-death experience that most people talk about, except I didn't actually cross over. All of a sudden, I became one with the room. I couldn't tell where my hand stopped and the hospital bed sheet started, where the IV drip was, a bag of saline fluid, and where that was me. It just felt like everything in the room was me. And the room got really light and really dark at the same time. It's kind of hard to explain. It was the lightest I've ever seen, and it was the darkest I've ever seen at the same time. And I heard a voice. And what I immediately recognized was the voice of God, except it sounded just like me, but the me that wasn't scared. And it said, beloved, you know a lot about attracting. You know how to manifest and visualize and press, but you don't know shit about how to keep it. You don't know anything about thriving. And that's about learning how to love yourself deeply and fully, and once and for all, letting the soul take the lead in your life. You don't know anything about that yet, but you're going to have to learn if you want to thrive. And so I had to give him the big aha moment. So the voice went away, the room fell back, I was in my body, understanding where I was, and I knew I had the big aha moment, right? I had been given the second where I'm going to take the red pill or the blue pill. The red pill was staying the same, and the blue pill was really loving myself and letting the soul take the lead. And I was scared because I didn't know, I thought I knew how to do that, but obviously I wasn't.
Right.
And I had lived most of my life feeling ashamed of myself and comparing myself. I was either too fat or not masculine enough or not rich enough or whatever. And I knew that in order to not just heal my body, but heal my life, I was going to have to learn what it looked like to love myself unconditionally. So I made a commitment to do that. I made a deep dive that I was going to go a deep dive in learning what actually loving yourself really looks like, not just on the surface of the conversation, and really letting the soul take the lead in my life. And it was a 9-year mystical, deep dive, spiritual masterclass of a journey. I was on dialysis for 9 of those years. And when I finally got it, as pieces began to fall away and I learned deeper and deeper what it looked like, when I finally was loving myself unconditionally and trusting in the presence of the soul, was when everything miraculously healed again. And my life turned around into something really, really delicious and became something I love to live on all spaces. So that's kind of what my whole, not just my story, but my message, but my living testimony is: loving yourself is the miraculous healing power. And it not just heals your body, but it heals your entire life. It really will turn your entire life around once you really know what it is.
Yeah, I agree. That is, I have goosebumps the whole time you're talking. It's so interesting. So, like, what was different? You think of the second time? What I'm hearing you say is that you were listening now more to your soul. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yeah. So the first time, I thought it was all about make a vision board and eat this vegan diet and write this appreciation journal every night and all the things that we're taught in spirituality and new thought and, you know, the law of attraction conversation the majority of the time. And the second time, the missing piece, which I think is the missing piece in almost every conversation we have around spirituality, conversation we have about law of attraction, the missing piece was I was not loving myself. And see, because what happens when we don't love ourselves, when we're not, when we don't feel enough and we don't feel lovable somehow. So I can do all of these things. I can make this vision board. I can say these affirmations. I can do all of those things, but they're going to be coming from a place of fear. They're coming from a place of fearing that somehow I'm not lovable unless something else changes about me, and somehow I'm not enough unless something changes about me. And I will always create out of the place of fear, which brings me more to be afraid of. So if I'm trying to heal my body out of fear, and I'm actually fearing the illness itself, instead of accepting the illness as something along my spiritual path that's there for me to deepen my path, if I'm trying to fight it because I'm scared of it, then again I am creating it from a deeper level of fear, and I must experience it until I no longer feel. That's what healing really is, Jamie. Healing at the core is the release of fear. So once I was able to get that, you know, I had fears. I had fears that I was unattractive and unlovable. I had fears that something was going to be something was worthy of being rejected or denied about me around my sexuality. You know, I had fears that I wasn't enough. And so trying to create a juicy, thriving life from feeling not enough is just not going to work, right? And that was the whole reason why I was sick in the first place, was because I had these fears all of my life, and they were shutting my body down. Fear doesn't allow your spirit to come through your body fully.
I love that. So fear doesn't allow, hold on, fear doesn't allow your spirit to come through. Yeah, absolutely. I love that.
Yeah, you know, your spirit is not, your spirit is love. Your spirit is safety. Your spirit is trust. And so if you're having a experience of fear and distrust and feeling unlovable, you're literally shutting down the space in which your spirit can spread out in your life. And your spirit is the giver of life. So if it doesn't have a space to spread out in your life your life is going to start to shut down. So whether that's shutting down an illness, whether that's shutting down that your relationships aren't working well or your finances aren't working, it's always the message that somewhere you're in fear. You're fearing either you're unlovable or you're not enough. Those are the two basic fears we operate out of. And so, and the answer to both of those is always to love yourself more, to value yourself more, to accept yourself more.
Absolutely. I remember in 1998, I was in this place of deep self-hatred too, and I remember I had no furniture, I had a blow-up couch, and I was sitting on the blow-up couch with my TV on the floor, and I was watching Oprah, and Jan Levinsant was on, and I at that time was attracting all of these, because what I've learned now through the coaching process is that the outside is a reflection of the inside. And I was so mean to myself. I was so horrible. I would say things like that too. You're so ugly. No one's going to love you. I mean, just horrible. And I was attracting, those kind of people were treating me horribly on the outside, and then that caused even more fear and more insecurity and like, what's wrong with me? And I remember hearing a Jan Levinsant saying, you are the love that you're seeking. And that's when I began my journey, and it's been a long journey as well, the process. I think it was Gary Zukav who said the longest journey will take us from the head to our heart. So
yeah.
How do we do that? How do we then start to love ourselves? Like, do you have any tips?
Yeah, so the first thing you really want to understand is why it's really important. So here's the thing why it's important. Until you really love yourself, and then when I'm talking about what love really is, until you love yourself, nothing in your life will work at its best. Not your relationships, not your health, not your money. Because like you just said, every relationship you have, and I'm not just talking about interpersonal relationship, I'm talking about relationships with your home, with your work. Every relationship you have is going to mirror back to you how you feel about yourself. So if I'm not loving myself, then all of the things in my life are going to mirror back to me to the degree in which I'm not. So that's why it's really important, if you want your life to work at its best, to love itself, because that's just how things work. And your point of attraction is always coming from how you feel about yourself. So that's the first thing. The second thing is really, if you want to break it down to the simplest element, loving yourself is getting to a point where you no longer judge yourself ever.
Wow.
If you gain the 5 pounds, you still love yourself when you were 5 pounds less. If the money in your bank account is not enough to do what you need to do, there's no judgment about yourself around that. That no matter if the world rejects or denies you, you don't take it internally and reject or deny yourself. And you also are not comparing yourself to anyone. You're not comparing yourself physically to anybody. You're not comparing yourself as far as where you are in your life journey to anyone else. You just no longer view yourself through the eyes of judgment. It just is no longer there. That's loving yourself. And it's that the thing about love, there's only one type of love. All love is divine, or it's not love. And all divine love is unconditional. So that means no matter what's going on, no matter what you did or didn't do, said or didn't say, achieved or didn't achieve, how much you weigh or don't weigh, that you still look at yourself and treat yourself as a force of love. And acceptance, that's a big thing, that you accept yourself. So the basic definition of loving and accepting yourself is that you feel good about yourself and that you treat yourself well, no matter what. I feel good about myself and I treat myself well, no matter what. That's just the basic step of it. So the first step is to stop the judgment. Stop the judgment in your thoughts, stop the judgment in your words, stop the judgment in your environment, and stop the judgment in your actions. Love every part of you. You know, I'm a big fan of mirror work. I believe it's worked miracles in people's lives. When I work with clients, this is the biggest transformative thing they say that happens in the beginning, is to get yourself every day in the mirror, look yourself straight in the eyes, and say, I love you. I really, really love you. There's nothing that needs to change about you for you to be perfectly enough. And in the beginning, you'll feel like, that's not true. But you keep doing that, and there will be a day, and I don't know when that day comes because it's different for all of us. It may be the 10th day, it may be the 5th, it may be the 30th. But it will come if you do this consistently, where you finally believe it and you feel it, and a shift will happen in your life. But that's the first step, Jenny, is to stop judging yourself, start feeling good about yourself, and treating yourself well no matter what.
I so agree, and since becoming a certified law of attraction facilitator, the reason I decided to get certified by Michael Lozier, who wrote the book Law of Attraction, because his book was a little bit different than the other books I've read out there. His book was broken into 2 parts. The first part is about healing, is you can't attract something positive if you've got a negative vibe going on, and nobody really talks about that. You've got to clean up. It's like if I come to your house and to renovate and we find mold, you're not going to say, well, just put paint over it. You're going to say, no, we got to get rid of the mold, right? And the other thing that I've learned and that I teach is that the law of attraction is just matching our vibration. So it's bringing us more of the same. So yeah, if you don't know what you want, then just start loving yourself, and you can feel it. You know, it feels good. Maybe it feels weird at the beginning, right? If you're used to being in a fear-based vibration all your life, it may feel weird or egotistical or whatever, but ultimately, once you start the process, there's no going back.
Well, there's no higher energy you can put out into the world than love.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can give to the world. So that's another thing about loving ourselves. I can only give out what I have to give. And if I'm not giving myself love, I don't have love to give to you. It's just physically impossible. And so loving yourself not only is good for you, but it's good for the world, because then you actually can love individuals. Because when I'm loving myself and I don't feel there's anything lacking in me, then I can't see anything lacking in you. When I'm loving myself and I'm not judging or criticizing myself anymore, I don't have judgment or criticism to give to you. So I stopped doing that in the world, and I began to be a force of love in the world, because I'm a force of love to myself. And I love what you said about healing, because the definition, I think it's even the Webster definition of healing, is to return to wholeness, to restore to natural purpose and original value. And that's the whole thing. So if you understand what your natural purpose and original value is as a soul, you are the very experience of love, joy, and freedom. And so when you begin to remind yourself that I am lovable, that I am the essence of being enough, and you release, like you said, you heal and release all the mold out of there that's saying, I'm not enough because I don't have this, I'm not enough because I don't look like this, I'm not enough because I'm not here already. You restore yourself to natural purpose. You restore yourself to your natural value. You restore wholeness. And not only will your body heal if you're experiencing some type of illness, but if you're not, your life will heal. Your entire life will heal. The addictions will be released. The repeating toxic relationships will be released. Everything is hinging on your ability to once and for all love yourself and put down the mass weapons of destruction, of self-judgment and criticism and denial and shame, and begin to say, what I am, just as I am, just where I am, is beautiful, it's lovable, it's enough, and I won't take any external validation that doesn't support that.
I just love that. I so agree with you, because when you get to that space where you're like, you know what, I'm enough, then you can actually get really clear on what it is you truly want, or your soul's desires, right? You're not doing what you think you should do, or what's expected of you, or what your ego, it's what you truly desire, right? Your heart desires. So I so agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have like a daily self-love ritual or a spiritual practice or something that, because I need to I need to do things constantly throughout the day to constantly come back to center. And what do you do?
Oh yes, I joke with my friends and I say I should not be unleashed upon the world without my spiritual practice in the morning. And it's just true, it's, again, I had to learn this. This was not something, we're not taught how to love ourselves in school.
No.
We're not taught this usually in our families or anywhere. So this is usually something we have to learn and unlearn. So it's not like I woke up and I was like, all right, I got this, and I never have to think about this again for the rest of my life, right? No, it's a daily remembrance for me. So I get up in the morning, I meditate. I have to meditate daily. So I meditate about 15 minutes. I'll visualize and look at kind of, what I like in my life, not necessarily because I'm trying to create something, but just because visualization feels good to me. Mm-hmm. And then I'll do something every morning where I get in the mirror, and I try to do it without my clothes on, because that's really an affirming place for me to love myself no matter what I look like physically in the moment. And I'll tell myself 7 things I love about myself. Seven things I love about myself. So they may be, I love the way you write, or I love, how good you look in blue, or I love how you make spaghetti. They can be big things, they can be smaller things. And then I'll tell myself, after 7 things that I love about myself, 7 things I forgive myself for. Because forgiveness is another experience of self-love. So I may have forgiven myself for not finishing my to-do list yesterday. It's okay. I may forgive myself for, today I forgave myself for, I said I wasn't going to have sweets this week and I had a cookie. And I'm going to forgive myself for that. And whatever I forgive myself for, so I'm actively giving myself appreciation and also giving myself love in the form of forgiveness. And then I go about and enjoy my day. You know, as well as, like you said, it's important sometimes. I'll do a 10-second meditation every 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So every 2 hours, I'll stop what I'm doing and just breathe in for 10 seconds to recenter myself. But that's pretty much my ritual every morning. It's meditation, visualization, and showering myself with love in the mirror.
That's beautiful. And I love what you said about visualization, because as what I teach in my seminars is that the law of attraction, not too many people talk about this, but the law of attraction doesn't really care what you're doing. It cares about how you feel about what you're doing. And so it has to feel good for you. It's about identifying what feels really good to you and doing more of that. So,
Yeah, and that's the core of loving yourself again. It's
yeah,
feeling good
yeah,
about yourself, right? So what can you do during your day that makes you feel good?
yeah,
And that's definitely something I've learned, that, to think about how my life can get better or make, be juicier or involve more love makes me feel good. So
yeah,
let me do that.
yeah, exactly. So what message do you have for somebody, a gay guy or somebody in the LGBT community who's really in this place of self-hatred and fear? What is one message you could give to them today?
Mm. The message, as a gay person, yeah, I was one of those children
Yeah.
that grew up hearing the message that gay is not okay and it's not enough.
Mm-hmm.
And so the message that I would give to those of us out there, whether you're young, whether you're my age or older, or whatever your expression of gay is it's finally okay to give yourself permission to throw the message that who you are, right as you are, and how you want to be is not enough, right in the trash. It's
Yes.
okay. You have permission to do that, and you have permission to accept something that is totally affirming of who you are, even if nobody in your circle understands it. Even if nobody in your circle will affirm it, if it affirms you and it makes you feel like you're expanding, it's the right message for you to try on. So you can throw those old messages in the trash, even if they came from your mom, if they came from your dad. It doesn't mean you're throwing your dad and your mom in the trash. But it's time for you to try on a message that allows the full you to spread out.
Yes, and connect with other people like us. I mean, Oprah always says, you don't get in life what you want, you get what you believe. And I've heard a lot of people say, oh, there's the gay guys are not into spirituality, but we've connected through Facebook. We're both in the Thoughtful Gay Man community on Facebook. Our friend Josh Hirsch has this amazing. I've got the Google Plus community. There are so many people, awakening and really living their purpose and loving themselves. And so I think it's also important to surround yourself with people who lift you higher. So,
absolutely. If you can't see it for yourself, if you can't see it for yourself right now, if you don't know where it's coming from or how it's going to come, hitch your train onto somebody who's been through that and come out on the other side.
Yeah.
Hitch your train on somebody who's been on. I'm one of those people, I can tell you right now, I've been through it and I've come out on the other side. So it is possible. If you don't know how, just in the beginning, just get around people who've been there, who've come out.
Yes. Yeah. Great tip. Well, we're coming up to the end of our show. I could talk to you all afternoon about this, but I hope you all come back and we'll continue on this conversation. As I mentioned, my Hangout with Jamie show is every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific. You can go to Hangout with Jamie and sign up, and you'll get notifications. We're gonna continue on with these discussions, also giving you tips and tools to help you go live, your best gay life. Thank you so much, Jerome, for being here. But I would love to just leave everybody with a question. And so from this space of being enough, we both want to tell you that you are enough. And from that beautiful, delicious space of enoughness, here's a question I like to ask myself from time to time. And this is the question is this: what's the most loving thing you can do for yourself right now? What is the most loving thing you can do for yourself right now? And go do that. So I'd love to know what you're going to do. So you can just write in the comment sections below the YouTube video. I'd love to know, what is the most loving thing you're going to do for yourself before you go to sleep tonight? And let's continue on this path of loving ourselves and really protecting a high vibration, because like I had mentioned before, the law of attraction has one job description, and that's to match our vibration. So if you just protect your precious vibes, then only good can come into your life. So thanks so much, Jerome, for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It was wonderful.
I wish you much love, much success, and love to have you back very soon. All right, thanks, guys. Hope you enjoyed the show today, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.